Good morning. This is Celeste Carmichael, Program Development and Accountability Specialist here with Cornell Cooperative Extension Administration, and I want to welcome you to the Building Campus County Connections webinar series. Today our topic is the Cornell Local Roads Program, where CCE hits the road, literally. So we're going to spend an hour here with David Orr, the director of the program, the Cornell Local Roads Program, and he's located in the Department of Biological and Environmental Engineering. So, David, I am going to switch over here in just a moment to your slides.
Okay. Good morning.
You want to take a moment and just introduce yourself as you're getting started?
Sure. My name's David Orr, as Celeste said. I've been with the program actually for 20 years. I was appointed the director last year. And before I came to Cornell, I was with Yates County. I was the deputy superintendent for the highway department and the engineers there. And so as I was putting the slides together, I noticed that I found an old picture to show that I've actually been involved with government activities longer than I thought. And once Celeste gets going, I'll show you. You can see. So that's actually me as a page when I was 9. It's a page for the legislature in the state of Georgia. Me and my sartorial splendor. I think maybe a more modern picture would be better. So we're going to talk today about what the Local Roads Program does, both within Cornell Cooperative Extension and some other activities that we've done over the years, including some work that we've done with special projects. And as we do that, we're also going to talk about the value of local roads, why they're so important to both the economy but also the communities in New York State. And we'll take a break now and then, have a little bit of fun. The Cornell Local Roads Program was actually founded in 1951, and the gentleman you see over in the bottom right corner there, Jim Spencer, is our first director. Another gentleman named Chuck Bittmars, who worked through the program for over 40 years, is there on the left. And in 1984, we became the New York State LTAP Center, which is actually a federal supported program. And the Local Technical Assistance Program was actually modeled on 2 centers that existed prior to federal involvement. One here at Cornell and one over at Purdue University, both the land-grant universities who don't have the name of the state in their land-grant. The Local Technical Assistance Program now has centers in every single state, Puerto Rico, and there's actually 7 tribal centers that serve the Native American population. And last year, over 1 million contact hours and training hours were done by the centers around the country. But Cornell actually, the whole idea comes from getting the farmer out of the mud. This is actually a picture from the early 1900s, but the federal government got involved in the first major federal bill occurred just under 100 years ago, in 1916. And the idea was to get the farmer out of the mud, to get folks from point A to point B. And that's essentially what Cornell has been involved with for over 100 years. This actually is a picture from the first Good Roads Week held here on campus in 1915 by the College of Civil Engineering. It was its own college at the time. And the welcome address was given by President Jacob Gould Sherman. And he spoke about the history of the university and its involvement in agriculture and extension. And he actually said during the introduction, were the funds available, we would be glad to carry on similar extension work in connection with every college in the university. So he mentioned roads and talked about the value of getting people in the same room and talking with each other. And there were 280 attendees at that particular first Good Roads Week. Now, before I get into the Local Roads Program stuff, we're going to have a little bit of fun here. We're going to take a break. We're going to do this several times during the course of the webinar today. So when you see or hear we're making a little bit of humor with Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. This is Who Wants to Be a Highway Superintendent. It's a little game that we've done a couple of times at our highway school, which I'll talk about a little bit more in a bit. We'll just put a few questions on here. These are typical questions that we've gotten both from municipalities, but also some from cooperative extension offices around the state. And so we'll start with a couple of questions here just to take a little break. So one fully loaded 10-wheel dump truck does as much damage as, is it 10 cars, 100 cars, 5,000 cars, or a herd of buffalo? And let's see if we can get an answer here.
So would you like for them to put something in the chat, or do you want me to open up a poll, or how do you want to handle this?
Let's, for this one, we'll just give them the answer on this one. We might do a chat later on. There's a couple of ones that make a good chat later on. So what do you, people might think, something to be aware of, roads carry loads, if you think of it that way. And yes, I actually have a picture of a road carrying a herd of buffalo. That's why that's jokingly in there. But the answer to this particular question is much more than people think. It's actually 5,000 cars. So every time a truck goes down the road, it's essentially doing the same amount of damage as 5,000 cars, a fully loaded truck.
Wow.
And this is actually a picture of our second long-term director, Len Irwin, who served from '73 until last year, and he's still a senior advisor for the program, being interviewed about research work that he was doing at the time. And essentially, every time a truck goes down the road, it does a lot to damage the road, but we can handle that. And that's part of what we do at the Local Roads Program, to help people understand how to build the roads to handle the loads. Let's do one more question, and we'll get back to the value of roads here in a second. So here's the question: which of these is not a good patching technique? You see the crews out in the middle of the winter, they're out there, sometimes in really nasty weather, and they're trying to fix the patch. Sometimes they're doing it during the summer, but there's lots of techniques people use. Which one isn't a good one? Is it the throw and roll, which means you drive over the patch with your truck? Semi-permanent, that's where you see the pavers just doing small patches on the roadway. Throw and go, that's where you throw it in the hole, hit it with a shovel, and drive away. Get a lot done. Or is it spray patching? So
why don't you take a moment and jot something in the chat, or if those of you that are on want to introduce yourselves in the chat, that's good too. Anybody have a thought on what the answer might be? I see a lot of all of these around, really.
Every one of these techniques is used, but one of these four really probably shouldn't be used. The other three are actually all about the same in terms of cost effectiveness, surprisingly.
You've got to guess at C. You've
got to guess at C. And we'll give people a second more to see if C is the answer. We'll be nice to people and not make them spin on the end of the screen. And the answer is, very good, it is C. The point is, if you just throw it in the hole and think traffic is going to compact it, what really happens is the traffic just takes it right back out of the hole. And that's what the picture on the left actually shows. That patch had been patched using the throw and go, just throw it in the hole technique, 3 times in one winter. And it never lasted more than about 2 days. You really need to roll over it. So that same truck that's causing the damage can now help you. Because if you roll over it with the truck tire, it'll stay in the hole a lot longer. So in the middle of the winter, we use throw and go, and we use the other techniques when they're available, when the plants are available in the summer, or if we have specialized equipment. Okay, so now we're going to go back to talking about the value of local roads. Why does a local roads program exist? In terms of the ownership of highways in New York State, there are 1,600 municipalities in the state, including the state, a little bit more. But the centerline mileage is 115,000 miles of public highways. Most of that is maintained by local municipalities. If we look at that as a pie chart, it's a little easier to see. And as you can see on the pie chart here, over half the mileage is maintained by towns, and the cities, the villages, and the counties maintain quite a bit themselves. The state, only 13% of the highways are maintained by the state. So there's a real need for those municipalities to have technical assistance and information. And those highways are the highways you and I use to get from point A to point B, to get to school, get to work, and to help get our goods from our farms to market. And of course, they also have to cross over bridges. And while the state owns quite a bit, more than half the bridges are owned by local agencies, mostly the counties and the cities, but a few owned by some towns as well. And of course, if those bridges are closed, we can't get from point A to point B, and we can't get those goods to market. So that's actually very, very important that we take care of that kind of thing. Now, highways are not inexpensive. They cost quite a bit. And in 2012, this is the data that we were able to get from the state comptroller, towns, just towns alone, spent over $1 billion on highways in New York State. And the cost per mile ranges quite a bit, from just a few thousand all the way up to almost $100,000 a mile. But those are in places like Westchester and Rochester, where there's lots of traffic, lots of width, lots of services that are needed. And it actually makes sense when you start looking at it. The cost of highways is pretty high. But if you look at the cost per person, it's really a bargain. Most highways in New York State cost less than $1 a day per center line mile. We don't pay that much. We get a darn good service that we use every single day. But to do that, we have to really understand and do a good job with the little limited money that we've got. Because most of the money that we use to maintain those local roads comes from local taxes. At the town level, for instance, only about 12% of the funds actually come from state or federal coffers. Most of it comes from local taxes. And of course, property taxes is the largest percentage of this. For counties, it's a little bit less, but it's still well over 75% statewide. The local highway dollars come from local taxes. So we need to use the funds that we've got in a really good way to try to make the roads as good as possible. And that's why we're here at Cornell. Okay, let's take a break, answer a couple of questions, and we'll get back to what the Local Roads Program does to help people manage those road systems. MS4 stands for Material Sediment and Storm Sewer Systems, Maintenance of Separate Storm Sewer Systems, Municipal Separate Storm Sewer Systems, or Mini Storm Sewer System Stuck. Don't pick me, don't pick me. Anybody want to try to chime in on what they think the answer is in the chat box? Give people a second here. We've got B.
I think that's the...
That's it? Okay. Well, the answer actually is...
Oh, then you got a C.
And I got a C. I got a B and a C.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Not moving forward for me.
Oh, that's me.
That's okay. It's actually C. Municipal Separate Storm Sewer Systems. It's just a long acronym that essentially means that as we get more and more urbanized, we need to manage the stormwater just like we manage the water and sewer lines. We can control where that water goes and don't cause damage both now and into the future. And we actually have a workshop covering stormwater issues. And outside of the urban areas that are called MS4 areas, there's still requirements for dealing with stormwater in the right way. Because we know that land use changes make as much of a difference, even more of a difference, than even some of the climate change concerns that people have. Changing land use can actually cause problems more than changing the storms. Let's do one more. A vehicle traveling at 40 miles an hour is moving at about 30 feet per second, 40 feet per second, 60 feet per second, or 80 feet per second.
And if you're just joining us, we're playing Who Wants to Be a Highway Superintendent? And we're learning about the Local Roads Program. So join in, and I'm just going to add your guess in the chat box here. We've got one C.
Got one C. People are out there with their calculators really quick trying to convert. And
another C.
Another C. Well, we got some smart people on the line here today, because the answer is C. It's about 60 feet per second. If you want to be precise, you could do the math and the calculations, and it's just a little under 60 feet per second. But a good rule of thumb, it's about 1.5 times the speed in miles per hour is the speed in feet per second. Or think of it another way. If you're going 40 miles an hour, in 1 second, you just passed that school bus. Something to keep in mind if you're dealing with the rural roads and people are going pretty fast. I mean, think about it. At 60 miles an hour, you're moving 90 feet per second. Okay, so let's talk about what the Local Roads Program does and who we are. Here's a picture of the staff. This is actually not all of the staff because two of the people in this picture actually retired recently. This is from last year's big highway school that we'll talk about here in a minute. Currently we have 5 full-time staff, 1 part-time staff person. And we travel around the state. We also have circuit riders and retirees who help us out in a lot of cases with teaching in classes and providing assistance. And the things we do vary quite a bit. We're going to go through these in more detail, but as you can see, we do everything from a newsletter all the way down to direct technical assistance. So we'll talk about a couple of these and then we'll take another break. One of the big things that we do is newsletters. We do a quarterly printed newsletter called Nuggets and Nibbles. It's been around since the 70s when longtime director Lynn Irwin put it together, and we've been continuing it ever since. And we do that quarterly. The recent issue just went to the press and should be in mailboxes pretty soon if you haven't seen it yet. And then we do a monthly email sort of blast online called Road Chatter, and that we do monthly. And it's nice to have a little blend of the old and a little blend of the new. And we can get the word out on a variety of issues, including training or even a webinar like this one. So we do those newsletters. The mailing goes out to about 3,500 people each time we mail it.
So can I just stop you there and ask?
Sure.
In terms of cooperative extension staff, how much do you think about the extension staff and how to get this information to new staff, for example, or staff that might have an interest in the local roads program?
We send the quarterly out to the extension directors, and anybody else who wants a copy, we would send it to them as well. When we're doing our other training and events and going around the state, we try to meet with cooperative extension staff. In fact, we were down in Orange County this past week and met with the executive director and went out to the new 4-H park that they're putting together.
Oh, awesome.
And so whenever we can, we work with them, and as I'll mention in just a second, we actually do some of this kind of activity when we're out doing our workshops. And they've actually helped at the cooperative extension offices with setting up some workshops. I'll mention a couple of those here in just a couple of minutes. And then the Road Chatter goes to anybody who has email. And obviously, if you're at Cornell, you probably have email. But most of the extension staff who want it can get a copy.
Okay, but they have to reach out.
Well, we reach out to make sure the executive directors always get a copy.
Okay, gotcha.
And we added you, by the way, Celeste. You're now one of our people who gets everything no matter what. One of our primary things we do is workshops around the state. And I was able to get it on the screen. It's a long list. This is a current list of our current workshops. And as you can see, it's quite a variety. Everything from asphalt and building of roads all the way to legal issues and managing people, managing the department, stormwater review I've already mentioned. And we take those workshops all over the state. Every one of those workshops is also available by request. And each of those workshops, comes with a really extensive workbook that we spend quite a bit of time developing with the help of the local highway agencies and community around the state. In addition to the workshops that are aimed at primarily at the highway superintendents and the field crews around the state, we also do engineering workshops. We provide professional development hours for continuing education for those workshops, and we do 2 to 6 a year, depending both on demand and what's available, of course, in the budget. And what we're trying to do, of course, is avoid the kind of things like you see in the lovely picture on the right. I don't want that house. I hope you don't either. Unless you're a skateboarder, be good for a skateboarder. We've been doing workshops for many, many years, and over the last 10 years, as you can see, we've had over 10,000 attendees in a total of 35 topics and over 500 different workshops all over the state. And again, those can be done by request, and we've actually done quite a few of those by request through the cooperative extension offices. We've done stormwater request workshops down in Orange County. We've done drainage down in Putnam County over the years. We've done specialized training up in Saratoga County. Again, if there's a demand, if there's a need, if you get a question asked at either a cooperative extension office or in a municipality, let us know. We'll see what we can do to help you out. Actually, it's sort of fun to do. They're tiring, but it's a good tiring.
So, and you told me, how many counties have you visited in recent years?
We've actually used cooperative extension offices in over 50 counties.
Okay.
We've done a workshop in every single county in the state in the last 2 years.
Wow.
Out in Long Island, we've been this fall alone. We're going to be down Long Island in a few weeks. We've been up to St. Lawrence County. We've been out to Cattaraugus County. We were in Schoharie County yesterday. So we go all over the state. We know that people like to travel about an hour to get to the workshops, and so we try to go to where they are.
Excellent.
Yeah, in fact, see, did Rose hop on here? I was hoping Rose Bagley had hopped on here from Orange County. She actually has been a very helpful. She's on. She's been very helpful with helping us with our workshops down in, we were in Orange County actually 2 days ago. And we like visiting the folks in Orange County. They're a very helpful group. In fact, we've actually never had an extension office where we haven't been happy. They're always great supporters of the program. You ready to take a break? Oh, got a question here. Oh, any questions? Oh, you're trying to get people to ask me.
So if you're just joining us, we're playing a little game of Who Wants to Be a Highway Superintendent as we walk through the Cornell Local Roads program. So we're answering questions through chat, so take a moment and respond.
Okay, applying an ice control chemical to a highway before a snow event is called anti-icing, de-icing, pre-wetting, or pre-treating. What do we actually call that term when you see that truck going down before the storm and you're going, what are they doing?
You have 2 guesses of a D.
You have 2 guesses of a D.
Anybody else? Can you throw your response in there?
Okay. Well, pre-treating is one part of an overall program, but it doesn't have to be pre-treating. It can actually be called, you can actually pre-wet your chemicals, you can pre-treat your chemicals. What that actually is all called, put together, it's called anti-icing. When you're trying to essentially put down the materials before the storm to keep a bond of ice from forming. Because if you have to go to de-icing, it takes a lot more salt. Obviously, it's more expensive and does more damage to the environment. Normally it's a liquid.
Deb was telling me that it's really an informed response and not a guess. Thank you.
It's an informed response. Well, it is. Pre-wetting is one of the techniques within anti-icing, but actually sometimes you can put down a chemical that's not pre-wetting. There are some sticky materials where they use the waste products. They're not really pre-wetting. They're actually a sticky product that's put down right before the storm. It's all part of anti-icing. We have, again, a whole day class on snow and ice if you're interested. Let's try one more here. It's okay. Technology. What is the color of work zone signs? Black on orange, black on yellow, black on white, or white on red? I'm actually making people go back to getting their license in DMV, you know, they're 16, 17 years old. There's actually a color involved here. Let's see what we get.
You have 2 informed responses here.
A and A. A and A. Well, they are correct. A is actually the correct answer. Color matters. But of course, we know people sometimes are colorblind, so shape and the symbols matter as well as the words. But if you're driving down the road and you see orange, you should see a work zone, or there should be a work zone nearby. If you see white and red, that's probably a stop sign or a yield or some regulations. Color matters, and where the signs are placed matters. Remember, we talked before about how fast vehicles are traveling. They got to be placed in the right location to do the right job. Okay, let's go back to what the Local Roads program does. Talk about our other activities beyond the newsletter and the workshops. We have 2 statewide conferences. One is called the Highway School. It's officially the annual school for highway superintendents. Next year's school is 2016, June 6th through 8th, and it's always been held here in Ithaca. It used to be on the Cornell campus, but now it's actually held over at Ithaca College. And the picture you see on the right shows a gentleman there with the plaid. He got his 60th year attendance award at last year's 70th school.
So people come to this annually, or some of them do come for many, many years.
For many, many years. In fact, if he had not been out of office as a highway superintendent, he could have actually gotten his 67th last year, but he was out of office back in the 1950s.
Okay.
And we do demos, we have general sessions, workshops, and it's one of those classic cases where we have both a good time and people learn something and hopefully share something. And the gentleman that you see in the picture, including myself, I'm on the far left there. The second gentleman from the left is the first director who helped set up the program in 1951. And the gentleman on the far right is the director who served from 1973 until last year, Lynn Irwin. So there's quite a bit of history and quite a bit of knowledge that's out there. Yeah, it looks like you got a chat question there.
The slides I'm seeing are behind what the speaker is talking about.
Yeah. The slides you see are behind. I hope you're seeing the highway school slide.
You see the highway school slide? This is good information to know.
Just give us a yes or a no. Always the challenge of technology.
The slide is about de-icing.
The anti-icing.
Anti-icing. Okay.
That's interesting. That's very interesting.
Very sorry about that. I don't know if everybody is seeing the same thing. Is there a delay in the slide? That could be a problem.
Technology.
Let me know. In the meantime, we'll try to be mindful.
Somebody seeing the highway? Somebody says they're good? Somebody had the black and white?
Okay.
Okay. Well, we'll try to give it a few seconds when we load each one up. I'll go ahead and load the next slide and let it sit there for a few seconds while we get going here. So the next slide you're going to see is talking about our next statewide conference. It's the actually we're going to be having it soon, the 2015 Statewide Conference on Local Bridges, again colloquially known as the Bridge Conference. And that conference is held in Syracuse every year.
Bad mistake on a bridge.
Bad mistake on a bridge. Yeah, you should see a bad mistake on a bridge. Yes. Yes. And bridges we know are absolutely critical. This conference was started 21 years ago. 22 years ago actually now, to try to help partner with the State Department of Transportation, the Federal Highway Administration, the county highway superintendents, and several of the consulting engineering organizations around the state to try to share information amongst the different groups. And it's been very successful at that, and we expect over 300 people to be at either the training session that's held prior to the conference or the conference itself. And this year's dates are October 20th for the training session and October 21 and 22 for the actual conference. There's still space, so if you'd like to go, please sign up and go to our website, which we'll give you here at the end, and you can come to the school. And of course, next year you'll be in Syracuse again. And now we're going to switch, and we're talking about special events and projects, things that we do beyond the workshops, beyond the conferences, beyond the newsletter. We will go out, we will present at regional events. Over the past 10 years or so, we've sort of averaged about 15 to 20 regional events. It may be a town highway officials meeting in Saratoga County. It might be a meeting of legislators in Genesee County. It might be at the Conference of Mayors annual fall meeting this year's in Cooperstown. We have a couple of speakers at that. It might be a training session for new elected officials. The idea is if there's a demand, if there's a need, we'll see what we can do to help you out. And we can train on any of those topics that you saw and even develop some specialized training as time and budget allow. We also do research at the Local Roads program and some special projects. And we've been doing that for many, many years. Just a couple of examples just to help you out with what might help you with the extension offices or municipalities who are online today. We've looked at the effects of Marcellus shale activities on roads. Can the roads handle the loads from those increased traffic? Remember we talked on our first Who Wants to Be a Highway Superintendent slide about the damage caused by trucks. We've looked at that on local roads and how we might be able to handle that. We've done studies on how to meet sign retroreflectivity standards. In this case, we got a special grant to help cover some of the costs and actually got a student involved with this process and worked with local municipalities going around the state and then developing a little package to help develop.
Can you just explain what's retroreflectivity?
I was wondering if somebody would ask about retroreflectivity. It's a long, fancy engineering term. We had an instructor who used to say anything with more than 5 syllables has to be an engineering term. So retroreflectivity, that's 7. Okay, we're definitely an engineering term. Essentially, it means how bright the sign is at night. It's nothing fancier than that. It's the light that comes back to you from your lights of your vehicle. And they need to be bright enough at night to be able to be seen. And how do you meet those standards in an inexpensive way with limited budgets? And we help municipalities with that, came up with a kit. We even got an award for it. It's pretty fun. We've been adding and working on smartphones and apps and things like that. We've got one we're working on work zone, so our friend in the bottom right there will know where to be. But we've actually already got one out there on invasives. So if you're the invasive specialist at your cooperative extension office, or you see something along the road and you're not sure does that really belong, we have a smartphone app that you can download on both iPhone and Android called Stop NY Invasives, and you can see what to do and how to handle and how to control and even report that you've seen an invasive. I actually used it myself on some garlic mustard that was in my yard.
Very cool.
Yeah, so it's pretty fun. And we're trying to develop those as there's a need. So if you see that there's a need, if you see that there's a project that you're thinking maybe the local roads program could help, let us know. We'd love to do that. We've partnered a couple of other times on small projects, and we'd be glad to do so into the future. One project that I really want to highlight that we've been doing since the early 1990s, off and on a couple of times, but it's a very important program, we think, and that's our Camp Summer Intern Project. And essentially the idea is we help municipalities develop pavement management, which is one of the first major steps of asset management. Jeff Scott, our technical assistance engineer, he's the gentleman over there on the right in the upper photograph. He manages the program, and last year we had 15 municipalities come to the training and 13 get through the whole process. And we've got room for that many next year, we hope, assuming the budgets can work out. Go ahead and apply and let us know. We've got about 7 or 8 that are involved for next year that are at least interested, and we're trying to recruit folks right now. But the Summer Intern Project is a great way to get municipalities started, and it's a great way to get students involved because we have college students work with the local municipalities. This isn't the CCE or the CALS intern program because we don't require the students to be part of CALS, though if they are, that's great. But we'll take students from here at Cornell, Clarkson, St. Lawrence, Buffalo. If they're an engineering student and want a real engineering world problem, here's a way for them to get involved. And we think of it as a win-win program in a lot of ways.
Is there any connection with the cooperative extension offices on the Camp Summer Intern Project?
You know, I don't think we've really ever had a direct application there. I suppose we probably should use the local offices if we have a hard time finding students. They may be able to help us find a student. Because while we obviously aim it at engineering students, we've actually had some extremely good students who were in arts and sciences. We've had students I had one who was an English major when I managed the program back in the 90s, and probably did as good a job as anybody. And especially, obviously, the report was really done well. But the program has been well over 100 municipalities in the state, and we'd like to add more to it. Okay, we're going to take another break. Okay, what is the most common reason for a chip seal failure? You know, that's the chip seal. Everybody calls it oil and stone. It's not oil. It's actually an asphalt emulsion, but it's the most common reason. Is it the wrong weather? That'd be A. Is it B, the wrong emulsion application rate? C, the wrong stone application rate, put too much or too little stone? Or D, too much time between spraying that emulsion or spreading the stone? And by the way, they did a research project where they looked at what are the problems. These are the top 4, but one of them is the worst by far. And this is a good example of where extension gets involved. We've taken research that others do, and we supply that information out to local highway agencies and, in a lot of cases, cooperative extension sites. So what do we got for answers? We had D,
and an A.
A D and an A. And by the way, these 4 are the top 4, but the worst by far, and yes, all of those are not good, is actually the weather. The weather is the biggest issue that causes the chip seals to fail prematurely more than anything else. And just to help you out, what is good weather? Well, it's air temperature above 50 degrees Fahrenheit, the pavement temperature above about 70 and less than 130 degrees Fahrenheit, so warm, doesn't have to be super warm. Humidity, less than 75%. If it's too humid, that's the problem, it won't set properly. No chance of rain and not too windy.
So that's my description of good weather too.
That's great. The way we think about it is if you're going to be doing hay, it's good weather for doing hay.
Just about anything.
Yeah, we're doing about anything. But the other thing we also know is the time of year matters. That good weather also deals with ground temperature. So you really want to get all that work done before Labor Day in most of New York State. So if you see people out doing that oil and chip now, might be just a little bit too late. A good beach day. I like that. That was good. Yeah.
Before you go on to the next one,
sure.
You did get a shout out here from Rose. Cornell Local Roads Program do great work, and we have had them here at CCE Orange County teaching a number of topics. The programs really do a great job of educating a wide variety of audiences. So.
Thanks, Rose. That's what we get for giving her a brownie on 2 days ago. No, they do an excellent job over there. We like going to the Orange County Cooperative Extension site. And actually, we like going to all the Cooperative Extension sites. We communicate the most by which of the following? Verbally, in writing, non-verbally, or sleeping? Now this question comes from a course that we currently aren't teaching. We used to teach a course on communications, but we still have these materials. We still share them with people. And so let's see what people think here. C and C. Yeah, we've got some pretty smart people online here today. Yeah, most of our communication is nonverbal. Over 70% of a message that we communicate when we're talking with someone is a nonverbal. You know, we're slapping our shoulders, we're rolling our eyes. That's actually an important thing to understand when you're talking with somebody. And yes, sleeping is, I guess, a form of nonverbal communication. Right?
Well, when I read this question at first, I didn't know if you meant like on the road. When you're on the road, how do you communicate best? So, and you know, there's a lot of nonverbal communication that happens there on the road as well. So. Well,
we always tell people that there's, we like to joke, there's only 3 things that matter: drainage, drainage, and drainage. But actually, when you think about it, really it comes down to the 3 things that matter. Drainage is obviously one of them. Communications is one of them, and safety is one of them. You do those 3 things right, most everything else probably going to be in pretty good shape. And in terms of communication, those traffic signs communicate something. How your flagger is dressed communicates something. You drive down the road and you see that flagger dressed like he doesn't really care. What do you think about that work zone? Mm-hmm. You probably are going, uh-oh. And that's a form of nonverbal communication. So I want to finish up about the things that we do with the Local Roads program, and a couple more questions, and then ask for some help. We also have a library, a very extensive library. We have videos to loan for a couple of weeks. Currently, we have 330 different videos in the library. We're always looking for new ones in 20 different topic areas, just like the workshops all over the book. A lot of people, that's how they communicate with us, with the videos. We also have all of those workshops. There's a publication that goes with them. So every single workshop has a manual, and those manuals are references that people can use later on or get them if they can't get to the workshop. We produce guides on a variety of subjects, from road standards to the little traffic sign handbook for local roads that was originally produced by the state DOT, but we thought it was so important we kept it up when the state had to stop producing it. We actually send out materials by others, including a new publication on gravel roads or other standards. Most of them we actually can provide for the cost of asking for it. Some cases we have to charge a small amount, like our software, and in some cases we can only loan it out if it's a fairly expensive item. But we have a huge lending library, and if nothing else, our engineers on staff can look something up and help people answer their questions. And of course, these days, more and more, we're going to the web. A lot of the materials that we have in our library, actually we send links out to people. They can download it right off our website. And we've done a lot of work to expand that website over the years and add a lot to it. So it not only has information about our events and our training and our workshops and our special programs, but also a lot of technical information, such as, for instance, using don't drown turnaround signs in New York State. This is our current quick answer. And the quick answer and the tech tip series are things we started putting up on the web a few years ago to help answer questions people had that we got from, again, cooperative extension offices, local municipalities, even elected officials. We would answer the question and realize, well, why don't we post that and share it with others? It only takes a few seconds. We call that quick answers for that reason. So as you can see, what is the rule of thumb for a roadside ditch? Well, truth be told, 6 to 12 inches is generally good enough. And they're available on our website. You can search. And right now we have, can you move the chat box out of the way so I can see the number?
Sure.
Actually, the attendee list. There it is. It's 184 quick answers are on our website currently. So we're getting close to 200. We'll do a little celebration when we hit 200.
So are they searchable?
Absolutely searchable. The whole website is searchable. Mm-hmm. So you can find all the quick answers. And actually, the publications coordinator, Mark Walker, has actually put together all of the items by topic. So if you click on the drainage topic, it'll show you the workshop, it'll show you the manual, it'll show you all the quick answers, and it'll show you all the resources on our website that are related to drainage.
Okay. And if somebody did just a general Google search about vegetated ditches, you know, does that come up?
It does come up. Absolutely, it comes up. And then if the answer is longer than a paragraph or two, we'll spend a little bit more time. We'll put together a little tip sheet, and we call those tech tips. And so it can be everything from how to do a budget to guide rail to back to that retroreflectivity, how bright the signs are, how do you meet the standards. And again, there we have over 70 tech tips, and we're always adding new ones. And this is actually, I think, one of the more fun things to do, but it's limited by time. But this is technical assistance. We provide technical assistance mostly these days, obviously by phone calls, but emails are becoming more and more popular. In fact, I've got 2 sitting in my inbox. I'll answer when I get home. Maybe have more when I get there. But when we can, we actually like to go out on site. We'll do limited on-site visits to answer questions on, again, everything from the building of a road to safety to slope stability, even a bridge or two. In fact, I've actually got a promise to get back up to St. Lawrence County at some point and look at their brand new facilities that they have. They've got themselves a farm, and they want some help looking at the driveway and the farm. We'd be glad to do that. Try to combine those field trips while we're up in the area doing something else. As I said, we stopped at the 4-H park in Orange County when we were down there a couple of days ago, and try to get back out there next spring and look at it again. And if we can help answer somebody's questions when they have a teachable moment, when they have a concern, that's what we really like doing, the technical assistance. Sort of the heart of what we do. So 2 last questions. We'll see how we do here. Okay, runoff from a salt sand pile with 10% salt contains the same amount of salt as runoff from the salt pile. So you get the salt pile and the sand pile, and the water comes out, the same amount. Less salt than the runoff from the salt pile. More salt than the runoff from the salt pile, or no salt at all. So we're going to be anybody chatting in there.
All right, so see, what do you guys think?
What do they think? We know we should be covering that salt pile up, but should we be covering up that sand pile as well?
We have an A.
We have an A.
Anyone else? Is that venture to take an educated guess on this one?
They think we're recording their names too. We really don't care.
It's okay. In the recording, there will be no, you won't see the names or the chat for that matter, if that makes you feel any better. There's another A.
There's another A. And again, we got some smart people. It turns out that if you get a 1-inch storm and a big pile of salt or a big pile of sand, only 10% salt, the amount of salt coming out is the same because the water gets saturated. And once it's saturated, it can't carry any more salt. And so when you see that pile of sand, it's got the white streaks, you're losing that salt. It's going into the environment, and it's not helping you in terms of that pile doing what you'd like it to do. So we'd like to see both piles covered, not just the salt pile. Municipalities must prepare bids for which of the following equipment purchases? Above $20,000 in using state contracts, above $5,000 or buying a Ford. Let's see how people do here. This is, by the way, true for all purchases. It's not just public works and highways. It's anything that we buy. There's limits that are required in state law. If we get any guesses.
We've got 2 C's.
Got 2 C's. Okay, well, we'll move on. The answer actually is $20,000. That's general municipal law. The competitive bidding threshold is $20,000 for purchase contract, like a piece of equipment, or $35,000 for contracts of public works, like putting down that chip seal that we talked about earlier. The local elected board can set that number lower. And I do know of some that have set it as low as $5,000, but the state law is $20,000. You could also go in there and use state bids, and the state bids are already done. You don't have to worry about those limits if you're using a state bid, and there are actually some other exceptions that exist out there. And buying a Ford, well, we could talk about that in one of our workshops. Now, how does the local roads program succeed? Well, we succeed with our partners. Without those partners, we're nowhere near as good as we would be without them. We have national and state association partners, such as the National Association of County Engineers and the American Public Works Association. We obviously have the New York State Department of Transportation and the Federal Highway Administration. Yes, they provide a lot of the funding, but they also have a lot of expertise that we're able to work with and share with each other and with the local municipalities and anybody out there, citizens, cooperative extension, anybody like that. We have statewide associations and the members of those associations from county highway departments and town highway departments, the New York Conference of Mayors and the villages and cities, and then smaller industry associations that exist on every material you can think of. If there's an association, we try to partner with them to make everybody stronger. We firmly believe in collaboration, and a partner I don't want to forget about, and that's Cornell Cooperative Extension. As I say, we've been in sites in over 50 counties, and we've done something with just about as many cooperative extension offices as we can. And if there's anything we can do to help, or if you have a question related to highways, let us know. That's what we're here for. In the long run, we do best when we collaborate together.
So, and before you go on, let me just ask, have you worked with any of the program work teams specifically on particular projects? Yeah, I've heard you talk a little bit about erosion control, and, you know, there's some water quality issues.
We are trying to work with the program work teams. It's just a matter of time. We haven't done as much. The one place we did do a lot, the one we did a lot with actually was when we did that app, that smartphone app for invasive species.
Okay.
We actually got a tremendous amount of help from, let me give a shout out to Sharon Bachman out in the western part of the state, helping us with our technical content to make sure that it was accurate and up to date. And it was a good collaboration whereby they helped us with the technical information, and then we sort of knew who the audience was in terms of the highway. And so that's a place where we could collaborate and work together. And if there is a program work team that's coming across an issue that's dealing with even farm driveways, we'd be glad to help. In fact, that's one area where I'd like to see maybe we could do something with the cooperative extension and the program work team.
Okay, farm driveways. You want to say a little more about that?
Well, if you think about it, that guy coming in to get that milk, he's driving on the farm driveway in the middle of the spring. That's when that driveway is as weak as possible, and it's a local road. It may not be a local road maintained by a town, but it's still a local road when you think about it. How do you build it to make sure that it's thick enough? How do you make sure that it can handle? How do you take care of the drainage? Not always the easiest thing in the world. And over the years, we've worked with different folks here on campus, and we'd be glad to do it off campus on everything from using some of the special soil that was developed by the Urban Horticulture Institute to designing of ditches to replumb them to make them better, to help both do the job of the ditch but also protect the environment. We even help them figure out how to deal with beavers. We do know that, for instance, if you get too many beavers, the best thing you can do is put a bigger pipe in. You get enough pressure, it doesn't matter. They actually, folks in natural resources found culvert pipes up in the Adirondacks 10 meters in diameter. Today's metric lesson, 10 meters is how many feet? Being plugged by beavers. If there's enough of them, they will. Beavers are pretty industrious.
All right.
And so one last thing I'd like your help with, if it's possible, and that's helping get the word out of what we do, all of those activities. This is a sum for the town. We have the same data for every other municipal type as well, but it gives you a good sense. Over the last 10 years, total attendance from the town at the highway school, the association meeting for the town superintendents, our workshops, and the bridge conference, though towns don't own too many bridges, so you don't expect to see them there. I'd like to see this 20s and plus. Everybody sending 1 or 2 people every year to something. Whether they're coming to our events, whether they're going to their own events, sharing of that knowledge together is absolutely vital. And so help us get the word out, and if we can help you, we can all win and do a better job of maintaining the roads with the limited funds that we all have.
Now, in terms of attendance and like recruitment to things, is there a particular strategy that seems to work? Whether it's the county really doing the recruiting or the local municipality, or
I wish I knew. That's one of the things we've been trying to figure out. We do know one thing that helps a lot. If we have requested workshops, obviously those fill up because we ask for at least 15 people and the local people help there. And that's where, for instance, down in Orange County with roads, really helpful. Make sure to get the word out for a brand new workshop. And in a couple of cases, we've done special workshops for cooperative extension offices in Putnam County, Rockland County, Saratoga County, where they help do the recruiting at the local level, and then we bring the workshop in.
Yeah, that seems like a really good partnership.
It's an excellent partnership and gets people on the door and answering questions. And with that, I've got my little thank you slide up here, but we have a few minutes if somebody has any questions or concerns.
So if you want to take a minute and just share any thoughts, suggestions, feedback, requests, and put those in the chat box. And you'll see that David's email address and the web address for the Cornell Local Roads program is up here.
And that's our main email address. The program address, the CLRP, is checked every day by somebody. And our main phone number is there as well. By the way, I think Deb's got her math good skills there. She knows her metrics there.
All right. So while we're waiting for you to add in your questions, I'm just going to share a couple of things. So I'm going to tell you what I'm doing here. I'm going to stop sharing the slide presentation. Go back to our. You should be looking back at the website, or I'm sorry, the WebEx presentation on the screen. And let's see, I'll just go back to talking about the Campus County Connection webinar series for a moment. So, you know, whether this is your first time joining the Campus County Connection webinar series or you've joined it many times, I want to thank you. The thing that makes cooperative extension like the richest that we can be as an organization, I don't mean financially rich, although sometimes that comes along with it, but rich in partnerships and in working in communities is when we can have a nice connection between research and extension work. And so we talk about Campus County Connections a lot within cooperative extension and the program work that we do. And people oftentimes ask, well, what does that really mean? I don't understand what that means. So it refers to relationships, building relationships with staff and faculty here on campus, and for the staff and faculty to build relationships with cooperative extension staff and associations and the program work teams and some other things. So I'm just going to show you, we're going to step out a second, and I'm going to share browser. So you guys can tell me if you are, let's see, we'll go to the staff site. So are you looking at the staff site right now? Apologize, but I just kind of need to hear from you what screen you're looking at. So are you looking at a browser? You can see the staff site for cooperative extension. Somebody give me a little chat back to me here. Staff site with list of webinars. Okay, perfect. Okay, so if you're from cooperative extension, you know, I often joke that this should be one of your home pages on your browser. It doesn't have to be the one that you go to, but I would definitely encourage it. The staff site is really intended to give our staff the resources that they may need to tap into so that they're available all the time. So on the staff site, all of the units within Cooperative Extension Administration are listed here. And I work for the unit called Organizational Development and Accountability. So all of our program staff, our professional development, our program development is on this web page. So I'll just highlight a couple of things. We try to tweet out some work that we do, whether you follow us on Twitter or not. You'll see the most current Twitter feed up here on the left-hand corner. On the bottom are the professional development and program development webinars that are available along with registration. Those are also on the homepage for the Cooperative Extension staff site, but we pull out the things that are professional development and program development here. Links to all recorded webinars are down below. And up on the top in this section called Tools of the Trade is our Campus County Connections link. So you'll find links to the program work teams, which are teams of folks that are both on campus and off campus working together to work on particular issues and programs of interest. So I asked David that question about work with PWTs or program work teams because we have a couple of program work teams that may interact with the work that he's doing, and they seem like a natural partnership. So if you want to know more about those, you can just click on that link. And there's links down below to all of the previous Campus County Connection webinars. So if you clicked on any one of these, you would find the webinar recording and any resources that are connected with it. So following this webinar, probably in the next week or so, you'll find David's presentation along with the recording and any resources that, and including his webpage that you might like to have. Okay, so and down here in the upcoming, you'll see the upcoming Campus County Connection webinars. And we continue, we try to shoot for at least one of these a month, but we add more as staff or faculty or extension administration wants to encourage those. So we just added Bringing the Classroom to Reality, CCE Summer Internship Program. That's going to happen on the 19th of this month. It was just added, but the internship program, the request for departments to work on internship programs is going to be wrapping up, I think, in early November. So we thought we'd make one last call out to help call attention to that for both associations and for staff here, staff and faculty on campus. All right, so with that, I am going to stop sharing my screen. We'll go back here. And any other questions? Any questions or suggestions? If not, we'll be on here for a few minutes, but we'll go ahead and wrap up the official presentation. Any final closing comments you want to make, David?
No, it's been sort of fun to do this. We always try to have a little bit of fun with these kind of things. Webinars are an interesting thing. We actually are doing another one this afternoon on stormwater.
Excellent.
If you go to our website, you can find a link that'll take you to it. It's actually being done through the National Highway Institute, in this case, Federal Highway Administration.
Excellent. Very good. Well, thanks, guys. We'll be here for a few minutes. I'm just going to stop recording now, but if anybody does want to ask a question, you can go ahead and just let us know in the chat, and we can unmute you so we can have a conversation. Thanks so much.